Thanks for listening to The Professional Edge. My name's Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. And what we're talking about is transform. That means make a thorough or dramatic change to what you're actually doing. So let's transform what you are actually doing with your investment portfolio. So when we look at that to transform, we have two risks that are very alive and well. Number one is inflation risk, meaning the same purchasing power. We're all experiencing that. Just look at the pump that we are paying per gallon of rate for our gas. Pretty dramatic increase during the administration of Biden. Yes, am I blaming Biden? No, it's just part of the process that we have to go through. So the inflation is there. It's also very true and aware in the food prices, also in labor. If you want to try and get anything done around your house, there is real inflation. So part of your investment planning is to take into account this inflation risk, meaning your same purchasing power 20 years from now when you retire. And we are the very first generation that has to plan for 20 years in retirement. So a lot of individuals say, you know what, I'm going to need $4,000 a month multiplied by the number of months I'm going to live, multiplied by the number of years, and therefore I'm okay. Well, that doesn't hold true because we have this inflation rate risk. It's a silent killer of the purchasing power of your dollars. So again, that's one thing that we do when we help our clients out at estate management counselors is we run this inflation rate risk. And then the number two, which a lot of people don't take into account, is this longevity risk. We have to plan for 20 years in retirement. Some of our clients are actually living longer in retirement than the number of years in which they worked. That is sort of, you shake your head. So in order to transform what you're doing, then we engage the use of a professional and make a thorough or dramatic change. Think about the professional athletes. They do not just go it alone. They have coaches. Those are exactly how they stay on that edge to transform what they're doing to have that dramatic change. So again, yourself, if it's that easy to do it yourself, then everyone should be a millionaire or a multi-millionaire. Well, it's not that easy. You have to have accountability. Why do you think there's Weight Watchers and all these weight programs? Well, it's these classes at these exercise facilities that make people accountable. They have to show up, make you aware, personally aware, and that is that transformation, a thorough or dramatic change in what you're actually doing. So again, to utilize the services of a licensed professional, a tax attorney, a CPA, a certified financial planner to start that conversation, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. So let's go back to transforming your investment portfolio. Now, let's say you've changed jobs. Average job now is 4 to 5 years, and we change employers. The great resignation has happened. You may have an old 401k that's in the funds that are available within that 401k. A lot of times those are not the best funds or most suitable for our listeners here on the Professional Edge. That way, when you sever your employment ties, then we most of the time roll that into a self-directed IRA. Now we have the universe of investments available to you, ETFs, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, even holding cash if that makes financial sense. So again, we have to transform what you are actually doing, making that dramatic change. Now, is it easier just to let it lie at your old employers and not look at it? And you know who I'm talking to. You have been thinking about getting this done, but for some reason, the word procrastination comes to mind, and you have not actually engaged or done anything with that 401k that you left your employer 8 years ago. Or you might have multiple IRAs around. You have some after-tax money you've saved. You're even doing E-Trade or Bitcoin or whatever it is. Well, that's gambling. That's not investing. Investing is to have a strategy, a plan to move forward. So to make that dramatic change, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. So think about this. 90% of your portfolio performance is based on how you allocate your assets within that portfolio. Excuse me. And when we allocate within that portfolio, it is based on your individual risk tolerance and your time frame for when you are going to need some of these dollars. Now, it's amazing to me that individuals, think when they retire, we got to have everything safe and secure. Well, that's a misnomer. Here's why. Because you are not going to need every dollar that you've saved for retirement the very first month in which you retire. We have to allow some of those dollars to continue to grow to, again, address this longevity risk and this inflation rate risk. It's two silent killers. And one great book that we offer our listeners here on the Professional Edge is called The Big Retirement Risk. If you want us to send you a copy of that, we would be glad to. And the number to call is 877-654-9798. 877-654-9798. It's The Big Retirement Risk. Two things that are addressed are inflation and longevity risk inside that book. I am not the author, but it brings it down to a great sense of why we have to address these two factors and transform our thinking and make a dramatic change going forward. Now, we saw when the pandemic hit, we made a great transformation, a dramatic change. We worked at home, and immediately webcams became the instant way to hold meetings. It was Zoom or Teams on Microsoft or other. Cisco has their own platform. So everyone went virtually on meetings. Well, we had a dramatic change. We were forced in that change based on the health crisis that had come along with the COVID virus. Well, this is the same thing. We're going to make a dramatic change, and now you're going to be actively pursuing and managing your investment portfolio, because your responsibility is your safe and secure retirement. It's not on someone else. It's not on your company. You're not going to get a pension. So you have to transform or dramatically change how you think. Now, again, think about the wealthy individuals. They all have tax attorneys. They all have CPAs. They have financial advisors. Well, there's a reason. It's not to pay them more than what the value in which they receive back. That's not going to work. That's how they became a multi-millionaire. They engage these professionals because the value in which they actually receive is far more than what they pay for it. So think about this. If you could get $10,000 of value for $3,000, would that be something you would consider? The answer is probably yes, if you're halfway awake listening to the Professional Edge. So that's what we've done, is taking over $10,000 of value for professional services and the instruments in which we utilize, and we bundled that together for you, a listener here on the Professional Edge, so you could take advantage of that to basically test drive what we do. And that is to get your estate plan completely done, in force, in effect, have the ability to sleep at night to know your estate planning is done. We also put together a tax planning strategy for you in writing. And number 3, we review your investment portfolio and give you recommendations on what makes the most financial sense for you and your risk tolerance and your perspective on when you are going to retire. The information on that is emcthebundle.com. That is Echo Mary Charlie thebundle.com. So how are we going to transform what you're doing on the investment side? Well, a lot of mutual funds run at very high expenses. So one way we could easily transform is to reduce the expenses in which you pay on your investments. That's critical, because if we can reduce your expenses by 50 basis points, that is 0.5%. Let's make it a round number. On $500,000, 0.5%. 1% is $5,000. The next is $2,500. That is 1/2 of that. So we have $2,500 that we just saved, blink of an eye, by reducing your expenses within that mutual fund. Now, we're all going to get these 1099s come 2022 for the transactions in 2021. And we've seen clients that actually have sold nothing, done nothing, and they're paying tax on money they're not spending. That's sort of an adage I have is, why are you paying tax on money you're not spending? Well, depending on what you're invested in your after-tax account, you may have this capital gains distribution. Your 1099 gets issued. You're paying tax on money you're not spending. That doesn't make financial sense. So we need to transform or dramatically change what you're doing. So if we can, A, be in the same investment, have less capital gain distribution at the end of the year, and not pay these taxes on this distribution, but we inure the same economic benefit, wouldn't that make financial sense? So again, that's being a CPA, a tax attorney, and a certified financial planner on the level of service estate management counselor clients receive. Again, to start that conversation, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. 877-654-9798. So that's one way we transform what you're doing on your investment side, is we look at it from a tax perspective. We know that all financial decisions involve taxes. Being a CPA, we bring that level of expertise to our clients at estate management counselors. So again, it's a way to transform what you are doing. Let's reduce the amount of taxes you're paying. Let's reduce the amount of expenses you're paying. And that inures to the benefit of the client. Being a registered investment advisor, we're under a fiduciary duty to act in the client's best interest at all times. So if that makes financial sense to you, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. I appreciate you listening to The Professional Edge. More coming up, and pass this session along to your friends or colleagues if this is of interest to them as well.